Well, this was on fire.
Go on.
No, but look, the fact is, I mean, you're just a Ramona. This is just rubbish what you're talking about. Do you know, I despise people.
Democracy.
I'm glad that you're not in politics, for God's sake.
I'm glad you're not in politics anymore.
Well, OK, all right,
Go around
all right.
swearing at people when you're in education secretary.
No, come on.
This was from the Jeremy Vine Show, with guest Jemma Forte, a political commentator from the Trawl, and former Conservative MP Andrea Jenkins. And they discussed Donald Trump, Brexit, and Liz Truss. As the show continued, things did heat up. So let's kick off by talking about Donald Trump.
She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black.
That is a clip from Donald Trump being interviewed at the National Association for Black Journalists. And it is a car crash video. If you'd like to see more of that, it is available on the channel. Jemma and Andrea go into battle on the topic of Donald Trump, and frankly, Andrea's views are shocking.
What's so wonderful here is that Trump and the Republicans have spent the whole campaign assuming they're going to be going against Biden. So the whole campaign has been about age and about, you know, cognitive function, if you like, really, as in the attack. And I don't think Trump can relate to somebody doing the self-sacrifice, i.e. Biden standing down for the greater good, because he would never do that. So now suddenly it's his worst nightmare. He's got this woman, he's a known misogynist, and she is a misogynist. He is a misogynist, Andrew.
No, I'm just saying, you're saying about Biden standing down for the greater good. No, he was standing down because he was not fit for purpose.
Absolutely, but he still had to an extent, but he could have dug his heels in, but he's not a dictator like Trump.
What do you make, Andrew, of what Trump was saying?
Very bizarre. I mean, like you said, you know, she's Indian and Jamaican heritage, you know, nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I just found it very bizarre. But I do like Trump and I want him to win.
What is it with Conservatives and wanting Trump to win? Well, interestingly, I've got a clip here of a Republican ousting Donald Trump. Have a listen.
I've heard that doesn't seem to be being covered are the Epstein files. These files were released, and like Donald Trump's sort of all over this, right? There are pictures of him with Jeffrey Epstein. He's taken multiple plane flights with Epstein, with young girls on board. He is on call logs with Epstein. One of the highest trending hashtags on Twitter right now is about Trump and Epstein. I'm not going to repeat the hashtag because we're in a dignified setting. But yeah, y'all might want to look at that because that's highly disturbing. And again, it shows that Donald Trump is unfit for office. And by the way, he was convicted in a civilian court for sexual assault, convicted in a separate court of 34 felonies. Donald Trump should drop out of the race.
But I do like Trump and I want him to win.
Him, like everybody in Palm Beach knew him, he was a fixture in Palm Beach. I don't think I've spoken to him for 15 years. I wasn't a fan.
But I do like Trump and I want him to win.
And there's more. Ghislaine Maxwell has apparently completed a memoir. Rumours have even persisted that she's actually completed it already and she's waiting until September. And it makes you wonder, is that because of the election?
What is it you like about him?
I like that. It's straight talking. I'm a northerner, straight talking.
Straight talking, but if what you're saying is disgusting, but it's straight, is that okay?
But I'm not saying I agree with everything he says, but with him, what you see is
what you get.
Yeah, revolting.
Pictures of him with Jeffrey Epstein. He's taken multiple plane flights with Epstein, with young girls on board. He is on call logs with Epstein.
I've worked with politicians for years, and there's so many narcissists, there's so many people who at election time make out the one thing and then they vote a different way. And I think it's quite refreshing, actually, having people who, whether you disagree with them or not, actually saying what you think.
Journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for. A lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
I mean, OK, so what you're saying is you like straight talking. I mean,
I like straight talking, come on, but I mean, I would never agree with what he said there. But I do like Trump and I want him to win. To me, I'm not even a feminist, I'm a meritocrat. To me, people are people. Yeah.
But
I mean, that
suppose
was just
I'm just still struggling with
uncalled
this.
for. Yeah.
I support someone because they're straight talking. Surely what they're saying is very important.
Yeah.
And with the stuff
But
that
I
man comes
I
out
thought
with.
he was far stronger on the economy, on international affairs. So I think he'll make a far better president.
Pictures of him with Jeffrey Epstein.
How do you think he would cope with Putin?
So that question by Gemma, an excellent question, gets completely ignored. And I'm going to bring it up with the American press and how Trump dealt with a meeting with Putin.
You have been watching perhaps one of the most disgraceful performances by an American president.
Slack-jawed in disbelief, American news programs and commentators.
And I thought that there was nothing that Donald Trump could say that would shock me, but I was wrong.
Forget that this is even Trump, by the way. The fact that this is an American president.
Even his friends at Fox News.
I believe you, Vladimir Putin. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Just days after Special Counsel Robert Mueller accused 12 Russian intelligence officers
for conspiring to interfere with the 2016 presidential election.
Details announced by the Deputy Attorney General, but the president today siding with the Russians rather than his own intelligence community like former agent Malcolm Nance.
It was a damning indictment of the actual Russian intelligence officers. He does not believe a word in it because he believes anything that delegitimizes his election or diminishes him in any way, shape, or form, that it must be a plot.
A former head of the CIA writing, Donald Trump's press conference performance in Helsinki rises to and exceeds the threshold of high crimes and misdemeanors. It was nothing short of treasonous. Not only were Trump's comments imbecilic, he is wholly in the pocket of Putin.
But also, so did you support when Johnson was obviously a big supporter of Zelensky? So did you support that?
Oh, I mean, I support Ukraine 100%.
But you want Trump in?
But I like Trump. Yeah, it's not just one
Trump will
matter.
pull the rug out from Ukraine, I think, won't he? Or do you think?
I mean, it's that aspect I obviously don't agree with, but...
So you don't agree with what he said there, and you don't agree with that, but you like his straight talking.
But do you agree with everything Keir Starmer says?
For all his faults, I've never heard Keir Starmer side with Vladimir Putin over his own security agency, unlike Boris Johnson. And I'm unaware of Keir Starmer going on a flight with Jeffrey Epstein.
I would say I agree with about 85% of it, and 15% of it I hate.
Well, there you go then.
But although he's actually retracted it since he's got in, but also I didn't vote Labour, I went for tactical voting, but I agree with a lot of what he said, and actually, on the whole, I feel comfortable with him leading the country.
It'd be interesting
in a way,
between Trump and Starmer, won't it? That'd be interesting.
Yeah, well, but
I so when Trump speaks, 100% of what he says, I think, is disgusting.
100%. I want to hear what you think about Truss, because Truss just won't go away, will she?
But why should she, though? Yeah, I mean, I like Truss. I like Liz. I mean, she first helped me when I was first a candidate. She was the first person to do a fundraiser for me in the constituency, and her mum lives in Leeds.
Yes, we're on the Liz Truss segment, and apparently the reason to like her is because she makes money for you. Isn't that a shock?
Is she just... I've never met her. She just seems very odd.
We will be taking into account our high standards to make sure our farmers are undermined.
In December, I'll be in Beijing, opening up new pork markets.
Thanks to our new rigorous national curriculum, children will be learning about where food comes from and the proper names of trees and animals.
I'm really struggling with this one. I'm sorry about that.
Yes, well,
I don't know the answer to that.
That sweet-looking creature is a possum.
I was at HMP Pentonville last week. They've now got patrol dogs who are barking, which helps deter drones.
You had a plan in 2014 to build 200,000 new starter homes. That was 5 years ago. How many did you build?
Well, there haven't been as many starter homes as we would have liked.
How many did you build?
I don't have the exact numbers for you.
Well, it's easy to remember. It's zero. You built none.
She was really ousted because the MPs didn't get who they wanted. They wanted Rishi and...
the members
so they tried everything possible to get rid of her. And that is
I think it was maybe linked to crashing the economy in 5 minutes.
But you haven't been out. You haven't been on the inside. I mean, I've been in the Whip's office. I've been.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they were very, very alarmed.
No, it's.
I mean, there's this continual level of arrogance coming from Andrea. Now, on top of that, what she's basically saying is, you're not in the room, so you don't get it. We've heard that from Gove over herd immunity. But also, you have that in regards to not being able to see the woods for the trees because you're in the thick of it. And as a historian, I find that particularly galling because we weren't in the thick of it, but we do have to research and look at primary sources, secondary sources, analytics data, trying to come up with a conclusion as to what happened. And as a whole, we do a good job. And I often don't get a chance to plug my history book, What to Do in Oxford, an Imagination Tour, available in all good bookstores. Link in the description. But also, we start to head into conspiracy territory. Have a listen.
This was an excuse to get rid of Liz. I was there in the tea room hearing the gossip people talk.
I was there when my mortgage went up as a direct result, and when millions of people were absolutely livid
my
that she and Kwasi Kwarteng didn't even have the decency to check their reckless budget
No, but I'm
with the
talking
OBR.
about why she was ousted. She was ousted by the MPs.
She was ousted because we've got a healthy democracy.
No, but ultimately she was ousted. If it was about democracy, yes. We're talking about two different things here. I'm talking about what she was ousted
there was
as
a
Prime
putsch
Minister.
inside, yeah. Let's just see what the story is today. She says she was a victim. Let's have a listen.
Yes.
Powerful people, including the Governor of the Bank of England, undermined me. And including members of my own party also undermined me. So my position became untenable. And for the good of the country, I had to remove myself from office. But that doesn't mean that I think they were right to do that. You know, I was the victim, frankly, of an attempt to sabotage my administration by people who didn't agree with my policies.
Well, do you think she's delusional?
No, the lack of humility. I'm sorry, I'm getting enraged. It's stirring everything up again. This woman's just bought herself some red dresses, trotted out to the USA where nobody cares about her, no one knows who she is. They were interviewing all these Americans going, they're like, who? Truss? Because she did 49 days. And now, if I was her...
But she was Foreign Secretary for a long time.
Yeah, well, yeah, and she really racked up those expenses.
Yeah.
Anyway, if I was her...
But as a Foreign Secretary, you've got to travel, haven't you?
Yeah, no, and you should go in a private jet as well. But no, I'm talking about the absolute Mickey take of it. We won't go
But
into
you
that
are
now.
crossed mainly because of your own mortgage.
Just felt like Conservatives, that's
Not
why you
just
crossed
that.
as well.
No, just, OK.
Well, name me a Conservative you like then.
Rory Stewart, Dominic Grieve, Anna Soubry.
Who are not really Conservatives in my
What is a Conservative these days?
They belong in the Lib Dems.
Ken Clark.
the Remainers,
Ken
yeah.
Clark.
Oh my God, the biggest Remainer ever.
But
Okay.
because
Andrea,
Brexit's rubbish.
she was a bad Prime Minister, wasn't she?
No, I mean,
a shock.
I don't think she was given chance. I mean,
49 days.
Very, very patronising person. In fact, so patronising, it almost reminds me, and I hate to say it, reminds me of the patronising remarks that used to come out of the royal family and Prince Andrew.
Party to celebrate his release in December, because it was a small dinner party. There were only 8 or 10 of us, I think, at the dinner.
Zero humility, zero apology, defend Liz Truss even though she's raked up everyone's mortgages. How do you word like that? It baffles me. So what did Liz Truss want? Well, she wanted to reverse the health and social care levy, and she wanted to reduce corporation tax from 25% to 19%. She wanted a tax cut for the rich from 45% to 40%, and to reduce basic income tax from 20 to 19%, and reform stamp duty. This was announced on a Friday, and basically the pound plunged to 1.09, dropping even further when the market came back online on the Monday to 1.3. And while the pound sank to the dollar, it also meant that borrowing costs went up, which is why everyone's mortgages and rents went up. But it wasn't just that. It's really interesting what Andrea said, that people didn't think she should be Prime Minister anymore. Her approval ratings went down, and get this, to the level of Prince Andrew.
But when you've lived through these moments in Parliament, you can laugh on the outside, but when you're actually just one of a few rebels, where you actually walk in the tea room, people won't even sit next to you. It's like being at school.
It does sound childish.
Isn't that more of an indicator that you've done something wrong?
No, but we had to fight for democracy, for the 17.5 million people who voted to leave. And we had to fight against our own party, against our own
Well, we've
MPs.
left now. How's it gone?
No, but look, the fact is, I mean, you're just a Ramona, still who hasn't
Wait a
accepted
minute.
the result, by the sound of it.
No, the result happened, and it's rubbish. It is. And also, we've got this massive deficit in our... We've got a huge black hole in our economy.
Come up with your views, you'll see people outside London do...
No, actually, the polls show differently, which is why everybody up north voted Labour and not Conservative this time.
Rubbish.
They lent their vote to Johnson because he promised the earth, he promised sunlit uplands, he promised it would be great for the economy.
No, can I say, this is just rubbish what you're talking about Labour lending the vote to Labour.
The gap between the richest and the poorest has grown. Since 2006, the top 10% now have an extra £300,000 in their back pocket. Life expectancy compared to other countries has gone down. In terms of political instability, we're now down to 117th, and we're ranked the second most miserable place in the world. And apparently Brexit has gone well, according to Andrea.
Do you think Brexit has gone well?
Well, I think that it wasn't only the civil service, it was Bercow in Parliament, it was the Remainers, it was even Keir Starmer trying to stop Brexit. It really was. Look, you was not in the voting.
Had an 80-seat majority, and the reason it didn't work is because nobody was agreed.
Theresa May's time, if you remember, we didn't. We didn't have a majority. We had to have a confidence supply agreement with the DUP. So that is not true. During this period, we did not.
Okay.
And so the fact is, it was hard to deliver the full Brexit that we all wanted.
Which was supposed to be what?
Well, we shouldn't be tied to the EU at all, in my view.
And yet we have two land borders. We have Gibraltar, which is being completely ignored, and pretty much most of the sovereignty is being given over to the EU. And Northern Ireland is also in the single market still, so that means that part of its sovereignty is being given over to the EU. And geographically, we're right next to the EU.
And
what would just be this like little sort of tiny country on our own without
Britain?
How's that gone? How's that gone? Where's that promiscuous trade deal?
So according to the UN, there are 197 countries, 37 of which are developed, which means they can actually buy our products. But with Brexit, we've put up trade barriers to 27 of those countries, and more will be joining soon. And 6 of the other developed countries are on the other side of the planet, North America or Asia, which is why trade is generally harder with countries on the opposite side of the world, because, for example, with food, it's perishable, or you have to spend a lot of money refrigerating it. That's why all countries trade with their closest neighbours. It's called the rule of gravity. It begs all sorts of questions when you have someone like that given that amount of power not having a clue about basics in economics and geopolitics.
Wait a minute, we are down 40 billion just in tax receipts
You just epitomise sour grape Remainers, for God's sake.
I am sour about the fact that we've got limited opportunity, a crashed economy, higher food prices. That is not going well, Andrea.
Absolutely spot on, Gemma. The high streets are absolutely knackered. Just go out and have a look for yourself. Go out and ask friends, ask family, how their savings. Do they have any? Because you'll probably find most don't.
And the idea that people like me who didn't want it should be delighted with how badly it's gone is ridiculous.
Well, it might be a 50-year programme.
I'm a Democrat. That's why I fought for it. And this is why...
Well, if you're a Democrat, you would agree with another vote on it.
Excuse me, this is why I've been pragmatic about even losing my seat, because I'm a Democrat. You know, I believe in democracy.
Believes in democracy, except for Scotland, because Scotland's not allowed to choose when it decides if it wants to stay in the UK or not. But also on top of that, they didn't want to leave the EU, so they've been forced out. Northern Ireland was forced out. They didn't want to leave the EU. Is that democracy? Gibraltar was forced out. Is that democracy? And Anguilla, a Caribbean island that has a European border with the island of St. Martin, wasn't even allowed to vote. With 63 to 70% of the population, depending on what poll you read, wanting to rejoin, ignoring that is democracy?
So do I. So let's have another vote on it and let's see which way it would go.
Just because you didn't like the result? That
no, because we had the result. It's not gone well, and it was however many years ago. It was in 2006.
Do you know, I despise people.
Democracy.
Hang on, let Jemma speak for a second.
Democracy isn't a one-time only. That's why we have an election every 5 years.
Do you know, I'm glad that you're not in politics.
Nasty, patronising remark because Gemma doesn't agree with that. I honestly have no idea how Gemma held her cool.
God's sake.
I'm glad you're not in politics anymore.
Well, OK, all right.
Go around swearing at people when you're in education secretary.
No, come on.
Oh, really? Oh, you're so perfect, are you?
No, I'm not. But I wouldn't do that.
OK, let's just...
I like teachers.
Hang on.
I was not an education secretary, ever an education secretary, by the way. And I was nothing then, I got the position the next day. So maybe get your facts straight.
I don't know what that swearing thing was, so I've got no comments.
She's on about the finger
You can't
situation.
throw a jab, Gemma, after
Yes.
the
She just threw a jab. She just said, I'm glad you're not in
Hold the
politics.
two of you apart, OK? It's a boxing rule here.
Wow, the number of bombs that Jemma dropped on her and all Andrea could do was get personal was unbelievable. Leave a comment. Tell me what you think. How did Jemma do against Andrea? Personally, I thought she was brilliant. On that note, once again, I'd like to say a big thank you to all of my Patreon YouTube supporters. You keep this channel going and growing. Without your support, I wouldn't be able to afford coffee, which allows me to stay up late at night making videos like this one. Once again, thanks for listening. Bye for now.